When you start dating someone, society hands you a very specific map. You meet, you date, you move in together, you get married, and eventually you merge every aspect of your lives under one roof. We ride this relationship escalator automatically. We operate under a deeply ingrained assumption that physical proximity is the ultimate proof of love. If you aren't sharing a kitchen, a bathroom, and a bed every single night, the culture questions how serious you actually are. But that universal blueprint ignores a very real friction point. What happens when your desire for a deep, committed partnership collides with a need for personal peace, quiet, and a space of your own? Merging lives often means merging messes. One partner typically ends up shouldering an unequal share of the domestic labor, the cooking, the cleaning, the invisible mental load. The sanctuary of home can quickly feel like a place of continuous compromise. To resolve this, a growing number of couples are choosing a different model altogether, living apart together, or L.A.T. They maintain a monogamous, committed relationship, but they keep their own separate addresses. Living apart is often a deliberate choice. It's an intentional strategy for adults who want to be together while preserving their own autonomy. Maintaining separate sanctuaries shifts the focus of the relationship. It changes the daily dynamic from one of mandatory proximity to one of intentional reunion. While it might sound like a modern internet trend, maintaining separate residences in a committed relationship is an established practice with deep historical roots. The philosophers Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir famously maintained a lifelong, deeply committed partnership while living in separate apartments. For them, it was an intellectual necessity. Living apart allowed them to keep their independent creative fires burning. They could work, think, and write without the daily interruptions of a shared domestic life. The phrase living apart together first gained popular traction in the Netherlands in the late 1970s, entering the cultural lexicon as people began seeking alternatives to traditional marriage. We see similar structures far beyond Western Europe. In China, the Mosimo people have practiced non-cohabitating relationships for generations. They engage in what are known as walking marriages. Male partners live in their own separate family households and make nightly visits to their partners, keeping romance separate from household management. The historical record suggests love thriving across separate spaces is a long-standing configuration of human connection. This data shows the current scale in the UK, where roughly 10% of adults practice living apart together. In North America, we see a similar trend. 9% of unmarried adults in the U.S. maintain a relationship with a partner who lives elsewhere. Living this way does invite external pressure. L.A.T. couples often face judgment from those perceiving separate addresses as a lack of commitment. Then there is the math. The most undeniable constraint of this lifestyle is financial. Paying for 2 separate mortgages or 2 electricity bills requires a level of economic stability that isn't accessible to everyone. But for those who can manage it, the psychological return is significant. It provides the ability to maintain the me within the we, ensuring you don't compromise your aesthetic, your sleep schedule, or your requirement for solitude. It also removes the mundane arguments that slowly erode romance. There are no fights over combining clashing furniture, dividing up chores, or arguing over mismatched standards of cleanliness. For these couples, the financial cost of 2 homes is the price they pay to protect their emotional peace. A person's motivation for keeping a separate address shifts based on their season of life. Younger couples often live apart due to circumstantial limits, like housing costs or building a career in a different city. But older adults choose this arrangement with a high degree of intentionality. Sociologists have a specific term for this demographic shift, L.L.A.T, which stands for living apart together in later life. This surge is being driven primarily by older women who are re-entering the dating pool after spending decades managing a household or raising children. These women have already spent a lifetime managing domestic spaces. Now they are choosing to reject the prospect of falling back into an unequal division of labor. By keeping their own sanctuary, they enjoy the emotional companionship and intimacy of a relationship without becoming a partner's caretaker or housekeeper. In this model, commitment is defined by the quality of emotional attention partners provide. Shared living space becomes secondary to the strength of the bond itself. It's a reminder that you don't have to follow the default script. You have the permission to write your own rules for love, ensuring your best self has a place to return to.